Ghostbuster. Hey, how's it going, gang? It's your boy Connor, back at it again. October 4th, baby. You know what that means? We're keeping on trucking along, watching one Halloween movie every single day, and just giving my impressions on it, thinking about like, oh, how are we doing this? How do I like this movie? How do I jive with it? Because I haven't really seen a whole lot of Halloween movies. So this is the opportunity for me to express my appreciation for a lot of these movies for the first time, blind reactions to them, get my thoughts and feelings about stuff, and then B, talk about why I like Halloween so much just in general, because Halloween is one of my favorite holidays, one of my favorite seasons as a whole. So, having the opportunity to talk about that is freaking always fantastic. So that's basically why I'm doing this, honestly. I just really like talking about Halloween, why I like it, why you keep going with it. So that's why we're doing it. Today we're talking about Timothy Burton, who basically is he's basically synonymous with Halloween at this point. He's basically when you think of a director that directs Halloween stuff and is the face of grimdark, well, not grimdark, but this sort of macabre sort of horror fantasy type thing, you really think about Tim Burton for a lot of that. He has this really interesting weird style that can get very old if you watch every single Tim Burton movie all at once, every single consecutively. If you watch his entire discography, it get really freaking old really fast. But it's one of those things that's really, really appealing in short bursts. It's kind of like the Imagine Dragons of film. You can enjoy it and appreciate it in small doses, but the second you try and do a huge binge of it, it just falls apart at the seams. Which is why I really wanted to talk about Corpse Bride, because I figure, hey, we'll probably watch a couple of Tim Burton movies over this October, so why not talk about Corpse Bride, which is one of the staple claymation ones that he's done. And let me tell you, I didn't really know what to expect going in. I expected some weird claymation stuff, an interesting style, just because Tim Burton, that's sort of what he's known for. But other than that, I didn't really have a whole lot of expectations. And so going into this, I did not expect a whole lot, Of course, everybody has seen a Tim Burton movie. You've probably seen a Tim Burton movie at some point. You probably saw Nightmare Before Christmas. You may have seen Edward Scissorhands, Sweeney Todd, and so many other freaking Tim Burton movies that I can't even count. But Corpse Bride, again, is one of those classics that I just simply had not seen. So going into this was really interesting. And so that's what I want to talk about. Again, if you enjoy this type of content, if you enjoy this style of just sort of talking and reviewing, just getting my impressions on stuff, you're going to enjoy this channel. I'm trying to hit 500 subs by the end of the year, and your help with that would mean the world to me. So if you could, please do subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. So I have so many praises for this movie, so I'm going to first just start off with all my negatives, and then I want to talk about the positives. The main negative for any Tim Burton movie is sort of the over-reliance on visual in order to create storytelling. You can have some beautiful visual moments and visual sequences, but when that weird, outlandish stuff becomes too much so that it overloads the story, it can result in some stuff that just seems off, really just takes you out of the experience as a whole. That doesn't happen a whole lot during this movie, but there definitely are some points in this movie where they take style over substance, and that can be a little bit frustrating sometimes. And honestly, that's my main complaint. I really enjoyed this movie. I freaking loved it. It really reminded me why I love Halloween as a holiday as a whole. Listen, I love Christmas. I love Thanksgiving. I love Easter. One of the biggest takeaways for all of those holidays is this idea of family. The idea of coming together as a family and spending time with one another. In the Christian faith, it is to talk about the relationship you have with Christ. And then in just the secular practicing of it. A lot of it is just being with family and spending time with family. And so I love those holidays because it gives me reason to have intentional time with my family, you know? Halloween is all about self-expression, dynamic action, the process of creating these really elaborate, really weird, outlandish things. And everybody has that inner Tumblr kid inside of them that wants to be original and quirky and strange and weird, and wants to be recognized for standing out. And Halloween is the outlet in which so many people get the opportunity to. The reason that Tim Burton and all of what Tim Burton does, with Johnny Depp and everybody else that are in these sort of styles of movies do, is really express that weirdness and that outlandishness that seems to draw so many people into stuff. It's not the ghouls or the goblins or anything like that, though the aesthetic of all of that is wonderful. It's the ability to just be odd and be fine with it. And Corpse Bride, out of any of the movies we've seen so far, really embraces that tenfold. These stylistic choices that Burton makes just make sense given the source material and given the setting of, oh, this is about Halloween, this is a Halloween movie. The outlandish behavior, the weird, janky movement of stop motion as an art form, all of these work together in order to create an experience that is just odd. It's just strange, and like it's charming. It's charming, and I freaking love it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that we always need that movie. I'm not going to say that that movie is the pinnacle of cinema and it is something that always needs to be replicated all the time, because if we did that, we would get tired of it and we'd hate it. It's only those little spurts, those little reminders of that sort of ultra self-expression, that sort of taking it to the limit of creativity, that you get with this stuff that reminds you of the value of it. It's the scarcity of it that I really do appreciate. Tim Burton does things that are weird, crazy, his own style. His stories are very simple, but they make up for it so much in the how rather than just the story itself. The story for Corpse Bride is painfully simple, but it's the execution of Corpse Bride that makes it so enjoyable, makes it so meaningful, and makes it so compelling to so many people. Now again, it's a balancing act, right? So you have to be able to figure out how much of this is just style and flash and how much of this is substance. There are cases in this movie where he does overstep, where this movie does overstep, and it's just like, okay, we don't need this huge dance scene with skeletons. We don't. It's not like, it looks cool, but it doesn't have anything behind it, you know? It's just gilded. So there are moments in this where, you know, you can tone it back, you can tone it down. But then there's moments like when Emily becomes free at the end. Then that's just a culmination of all of these story beats and all these story elements culminated in this visual sequence that doesn't really have a whole lot of words. It's just telling the story through the picture medium. It's why people love film so much. And I think that Corpse Bride does a really good job at showing and not just outright saying. I think a lot of these movies really try and speak the plot at you. Corpse Bride shows the plot at you. You can reduce a lot of the dialogue in this and it would still make a ton of sense. So overall, I really, really liked this film. I really enjoyed it. It was a crazy, enjoyable, wild, strange, weird experience that reminded me why I love Halloween so much. 9 out of 10. Until next time, I'm Connor. I love stories, and I hope to see you again real soon. Take care.